Disability is a physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairment which impacts adversely on one's socio-economic or environmental participation in daily activities. Faced with certain barriers, disability may hinder one's effective participation in society on equal basis with others. The University of Nairobi has 62 persons with disabilities, out of which 38 are students and 24 are staff members, according to University of Nairobi Disability Policy data. Join me, Festus Muinde, as I explore the experiences of students with disabilities at the University of Nairobi with regard to the provisions of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and other national and international legal instruments. Francis Anyenda, a senior PRO at the National Council of Persons with Disabilities in Kenya, explains the policies and law governing the needs of persons with disability.
First, we have the Persons with Disabilities Act 2003 that basically governs matters with disability in terms of providing institutional and legal framework that we as a council operate in terms of providing services to persons with disabilities. Now, within the Act, there is a provision that the council has a responsibility of promoting access to education for persons with disabilities. We have what we call the National Disability Policy, which was passed in 2006. We've been having a review up to, by last year we're still having the review of that. It also stipulates the role of the council and also the role of the government in terms of addressing the needs for disabilities. We also have a policy for special education, which is done by our partner Ministry of Education, that basically provides again the provisions for access to education by learners with disabilities. Now, as a council, we use this and other legislations that support education in terms of providing services that enables persons with disabilities to be retained. First of all, to enhance enrollment and retention within the education sector.
Different students with disabilities at the University of Nairobi face some barriers against full exploitation of their potential.
We have people who have physical disabilities and those on wheelchairs. They have a main problem accessing especially the hostels in the universities. There are many staircases, some of which cannot be eliminated because of the terrain of the university. We also have the challenge of social accessibility. That is, many people, especially those who live with around here, do not understand the issues of people with disabilities. That is pertaining to the use of facilities, university facilities. Some people use it in total ignorance that there are people who have disability. For instance, like the toilets. People will use them badly, so they won't mind whether a person with visual disability is using those toilets alongside them. Although they see me in this floor, and they'll go and just use those places anyhow. So for me to maybe visit such a sensitive place, I need to look for someone to ask them if it is okay for me. And then with the issue of the accessible formats of reading and writing, the university largely depends on the print formats, which are not accessible to people with visual disabilities.
Considering the infrastructure in this university, when I came to report, when I was looking for admission, there was a lift on education building, and that is why I joined this university, because I was able to access upstairs easily without constraint. But from the moment I reported, that lift has never worked. Whenever the VC office is, there is always a lift. And my question is, why be considerate about VC who is able-bodied than other students who are physically challenged? If you go to toilets in the morning, they're clean. Around 4, they're very dirty. You can't access because some people, they stand on top. Some of us that cannot stand, it forces you to sit. It becomes a big problem. You cannot sit on a dirty toilet, a place that others have dirtified. It is all watery, it is, so you feel like, what do I do? some staff that are very human, you tell them, kindly allow me to use your key. I have a problem, I can't use this. They give you some, they tell you, no, this is not for students.
Students face the issue of missing marks, and especially this affects the students with visual impairment, because if they do the exams in Braille, at times there's something we call debrailing. Debrailing is rewriting what a person has written in print on a pen. So you realize at times maybe those people who are doing that, the papers might at times get lost. So most of them suffer that, and you realize like 3 students will not graduate in December because of those issue of missing marks. And this issue can be solved easily by employing persons at least with the knowledge of Braille, and having a resource center that will be doing that debrailing. The other thing, I don't think the university usually do the disability accessibility audit, because if this has been taken place, then we will be having ramps and the disability friendly building.
Grace Ogonda is a lecturer at the Department of Psychology, University of Nairobi, and the coordinator in the Department on Special Needs.
You look at the environment, it's not so much barrier-free. There are a lot of barriers and physical barriers. Now, with physical barriers, you're looking at some cases there is no ramp. It is only the staircase, and therefore a student maybe who has physical disability finds it difficult maybe to have lecture, especially those ones who are using wheelchairs, to have the lecture maybe if it is on a second floor or whatever floor that it is. But that is still a major problem. And then you go also to the washrooms. The washrooms are also not specified for those who may be using wheelchair. How to transfer, okay, there are toilets where people can sit, but how somebody can maneuver inside, yeah, if it's using a wheelchair. The problem of resource material in the library is still a problem. Yeah, the audio material may not be sufficient. Usually if somebody is doing, say, literature, there are several books that they may be expected to read. But say the books are all in print and it becomes a challenge, there's no audio material for them.
The National Council of Persons with Disabilities policies and legal framework spell out certain requirements and expectations on learning institutions regarding persons with disability.
Every government departments or ministries or learning institutions is supposed to ensure that it has mainstream disability within it is working. And they have to report this every year in terms of what achievements have they made in mainstream disability. So if it's within the learning sector, they should be able to tell us how many children with disabilities have been enrolled, for example, in primary school, or how many learners with disabilities have been enrolled in the university, under which faculties. And therefore, through this, we are able to follow up and ensure that these learners have access to the education. The student must be accessible. Accessible in the sense that if I have, for example, I have physical disability, I should be able to go to the classroom without any problem. I should go to the lecture hall without any problem. I should be able to go to the toilet without any problem. I should be able to access learning materials without any problem. I should go to the library, so that even the library must be able to provide services that caters for these persons with disabilities. We don't want a situation whereby you do not have access to the facilities. So we must ensure that those accessibility facilities that promote accessibility are provided for. Because of the provisions within the Constitution and the various legislation, then we are saying that everybody has to go and get education. And therefore, where they are coming from a poor background, then this must be supported in terms of provision of school fees or the fee that enable them to go there. The other thing is the examinations, and especially for the visually impaired persons, the low learners, people who take time to do the exams, especially people with mental disability. If they see the same exam with you, you'll find that this might be a challenge to them. And therefore you need an exam where there's a room, there's a flexible timing for them, so that if the exam is 3 hours, can they do the exam within 3.5 hours? So that half hour is what they need to slow down, or they need to settle down and start doing the work.
What's the link between dependency on the others to break the barriers of students with disability and the students' overall feeling?
Depending on people on a daily basis, it's a big challenge, because one, we depend on people who are volunteering, who are giving up their time to support your people. So we would encourage the university to facilitate independence of each student with disability. Where there are stairs for a person who is on wheelchair, they can't climb those stairs without any assistance. They will always depend on people. But once you eliminate that barrier, that stairs, it means you make this person depend upon themselves.
That life, it has been hard, but I say through God's grace, I've managed it. But am I happy? I'm not. I'm partly happy because I'm finishing my education. But I'm sad because it is not only me with disability in this school. There are others with disability that are here. They are facing the same challenges as me. There are others that are planning to join this university. Can we just make some improvements so that when they come, they get leveled ground for all?
Does the students with disabilities' reliance on others for assistance have any psychological implication on their social life?
It's kind of dehumanizing, and it can also lead to lowered self-esteem. Because at a particular age, there's what is expected of you to be able to do independently. Is to have the person operate as independently as possible, because that is actually the human nature. It is so dehumanizing when you are as an adult and certain things are being done for you, to the extent that you have no privacy as it is. So that is the focus in special education, independence, that you are able to function in your environment as best as you can, even if you are pursuing education.
The University of Nairobi Disability Policy document of February 2011, revised in 2015 as obtained from the Dean of Students, states that the university endeavors to provide a conducive learning environment to students with physical, hearing, visual, and learning impairment. What achievements have been made so far?
Now, the best thing that has happened is the new building, because it is totally barrier-free. Because there you'll have washrooms for those with disabilities. When you go also, you'll find that even the door handles are made in a way that they can easily be operated. The ramps are put in place. The lifts are the talking lifts. So even somebody who is blind will know whether they have reached their destination or not. And while also operating within the room, the rooms are spacious, so somebody can get in and even in a wheelchair also, and transfer himself onto a chair and learn the best way. The window latches are also not as these ones. They can be operated. Actually, it's neat, it's beautiful, and it is actually according to standard. When we have deaf students, they provide a sign language interpreter, again assigned from the Dean of Students' office. And so then we can actually, they go or they accompany the student to the classroom, and if the lecturer doesn't know sign language, then the sign language interpreter work very closely with the student to the very end until the examination time. For those who are visually impaired, the university provide a laptop for them. Because if he's visually prepared, he cannot read and write print. So, but if he's given a laptop, then they go out of their way now to get the JAWS, which, for example, if I give him something in a flash disk, it will translate it. Yes. And then certain times they may also have the audio material where they can listen to it. Yeah, and this also means that when there is an exam, they can type. And then they give us a flash disk, and then we can simply print it out and mark their work.
The Constitution informs that, Article 54 particularly, informs that Braille, sign language and other alternative sources should be used. So for that purpose, I think the university got us some computer machines to help us access and put our notes down. But there is the need for a software that will help us use that computer, that the voice software that we use, known as Job Access with Speech of JAWS. So I think the university should see to it that they have such softwares which are sensitive also for use by people with visual disabilities.
The National Council of Persons with Disability has a role to play in breaking the barriers for students with disability.
Now, as a council, what we do under those provisions within the various laws is that we provide scholarships, provide education facilities in terms of school fees or university fees or tertiary institution fees to students or learners who have been admitted in various learning institutions. And then we also provide what we call assistive devices. Basically, these are crutches, the wheelchairs, and other walking aids that enable a person's ability to be able to function properly or to function independently within a learning environment, so that you are able to move from one place to another, to the classroom, and so on and so forth. We also provide support to what we call infrastructural development, where we provide institutions of learning that provide facilities for, or that provide education to learners with disabilities. We do give them some funding that can be able to help them improve accessibility in terms of building dormitories that are accessible to learners with disabilities, in terms of providing facilities like toilets that are accessible to people with wheelchairs, for example, in terms of provision of materials that support the learning, for example, the braille for the visually impaired persons, the JAWS, or what we call the talking computer for those ones who are also visually impaired.
Can the students with disability attest to any support from the National Council of Persons with Disability?
Yeah, actually they support us with devices like laptops. They also pay school fees, 75% for both the JAB and the self-sponsored students, depending on the amount of school fees.
To exploit their full potential, students with disability need to have less constraints in their daily activities. Ogonda observes that integration is essential besides provision of necessary facilities to break the barriers for students with disability.
There are these two main universities who are known for special needs, Kanyanga University and Maseno University, which have put quite a bit of infrastructure for them. But some of these students, they choose University of Nairobi because they want to be in the mainstream society. They don't want to be like some of them, as you already said, would have come from special schools, where they were learning with those people with special needs only. And here they want now to even open up and expand their friendship.
Students with disability at the University of Nairobi appreciate integration and representative empowerment.
I cannot fail to congratulate the other students because they've been really helping us. Maybe you find someone on the way, ask you where are you going, they assist us to read. We interact with them well.
As a person with disability, I've gone through challenges, even though there is also some joyful moments also. I must appreciate that students have been very nice and considerate to me.
When I came to this school, I steered the founding of an association for the students with disabilities that was known as the University of Nairobi Students with Disabilities Association. Although it's not very, very vibrant, it has managed at least to try and maybe alleviate some of these issues that face us.
with the World Health Organization estimates on global disability of 650 million people, 200 million people of these are children, among them learners. Besides, 10% of every population, according to World Health Organization, has some form of disability. University of Nairobi has 5% of her student population with disability. What do students think of breaking this vicious cycle?
All public universities are supposed to incorporate students with disabilities. It's a requirement, it's there by law, it's in the Education Act. So no university should tell you will not admit your child because they have a disability. She deserves to be there.
The available institutions should do integration. They should make facilities friendly so that we mix with others, and mixing with others is very important.
The university should be organizing different disability games with other universities and colleges, because these will improve the sporting activities.
Persons with disability have needs. Why don't just VC have that day, special day for you? UN Day, the 3rd of December, special day for persons with disability. Why don't you just say, today I'm going to have a word with my special students? Not having a dinner, not having a coffee, having a word.
Article 54 of the Constitution of Kenya decrees that persons with disability are entitled to, among other things, access educational institutions and facilities for persons with disabilities that are integrated into society to the extent compatible with their interests. To eliminate persisting inequalities facing persons with disabilities, and in this case the students in learning institutions, their rights and needs should be observed to enable them participate fully both in social and national development. This way, they will be liberated from the snare of disability. I have been your host, Festus Muinde. Goodbye.